I am Alexis S. Silver, and thank you for coming. So, I am an independent author. That means I write novels and self publish them on my own. I have been writing since I was 13, and I published my first book when I was 18. Since then, I have been working on improving my craft. You'll see a big difference between my first book and my most recent ones. And I really enjoy doing that because it's like writing is a hobby to me. So the books I have for today are science fiction. It isn't all I write, but it is my favorite genre to write. So I would recommend my books to young adults, teens even, or also adults. I like to keep it into that group, even if it isn't really much of a group, but I just say young adult because it kind of fits right in the middle. So let's talk about my most three recent books. So the first one I have is Take It Back. So every year, on the same date and time, an event happens. For a particular reason, she doesn't remember everything. All she knows are these three things. Someone would pass away. Her friend would inform her on the death. And another friend of hers comes up to her crying, as if he witnessed something terrible happen to her. And there is one thing that she overlooks every year. She dies. So, for those who like time loops, or anything having to do with time travel, this book will be for you. So the next book I would like to talk about is The Unusual Usual. I originally wrote this story back in high school during the romance phase. So I changed it quite a bit when I wrote it last year. So the story is about a girl named Crystal. She is the type of girl who wants to go to school and do normal things and keep it as normal as possible. So unfortunately, she's the main character. So as the new kid in school trope, a new character comes in and shows her unwillingly that there is more to life. Like two secret superpowered organizations fighting for power literally in front of her. And, well, that baffles her, but the only thing that baffles her more is that no one else seems to notice it as well, along with her. I mean, she recognizes it, but for some odd reason, why isn't anybody around her notice? Why does her oldest sister seem to overlook her with the ability to take anything out of a toolbox? Because that's her ability. She can take things out of a toolbox, anything. But her sister recognizes her holding a knife. I don't know where this is going, but if you like superpowers and organizations fighting over a girl because she's important, that's as much as I could give you without giving a lot away. Read it if you want to. So on to the next book. Now I'll be talking about the story that I will be reading, which is Look Out Behind Him. It's so new, I don't have my own book. I just have the Kindle version to read it. But I would be reading it on my phone. So in this story, in this world, everyone has a power called an extension. It is a normal everyday life thing. I like to make my stories like that, so I could get over the whole part where normal people and people with powers clash. That seems to be a normal thing in pop media. But let's skip over that part. So this kid has a power that makes him unable to die. The main character was found with barely any memories, or the ability to put information together. So he is raised to live as if he had no past. He meets a delinquent friend in high school. He gets a crush, and a woman adopts him. She's my favorite character. And so life continues as if nothing happens. Everything was supposed to be normal. Until someone tries to poison him. So I had some inspiration with the way I wrote the story from this one called Yotsuba To. It's a whole manga series about this little girl, and it's called Yotsuba and it's about how everybody has an interaction with the main character. That's how my story is written. They interact with him, and since the main character can't tell the story himself, you basically hear everybody's interaction through his friend, his new mother, even the boy he bumps into in the cafeteria. The only difference is the genre. The manga is cutesy. My story is a bit, science fiction, mafia-esque, and gotta run for his life. So, since I don't know where else to go with this, I guess it's time to read the story. I hope you enjoy it. I will be reading Look Out Behind Him, starting from chapter 1. Where's Mom? He remembered asking that years ago. He was asking his father about his mother's whereabouts. He just woke up from a night's sleep, ready to eat breakfast. He was a little 8-year-old at that time. He had dark, sharp brown eyes, and he was looking around at how bland it was without her being there in the morning. There was no bacon sizzling on the stove. There was no fresh aroma of powder after his mother's morning shower. There was no familiar smile with red lips. Most importantly, his mother wasn't there to say, "Good morning." His father simply answered, "She isn't here. Don't expect her to come back either." He didn't give him any more information than that. His tired gaze looked down, not suiting his young face. His blonde, normally curly hair was matted down. His green eyes showed no life. He was too young to be raising his little boy on his own. From that day on, everything went downhill. His father's personality was never the same again. The little boy was left with the somber disposition without someone to look up to. Chapter 2. Suffocating, so hungry, claustrophobic, painful. He couldn't see. He had no idea how long he had been in there, but he knew it was a long time. He remembered he arrived in tears while pleading. He scratched at his prison and screamed until his throat was raw and his fingers were bloody. He couldn't see the scratch marks his fingers made when he tried clawing his way out. Now, he was shivering from the cold. He was alone in his thoughts. He couldn't hear anything. He was so cold. It hurt to breathe. He couldn't even remember how he got there, nor could he remember who put him there. His mind was in a scramble. He would try to call out to his mother, then his father, then other times it would result in gibberish. Soon, he just wanted to hear something, anything. He started saying random things, and the first things that came to mind. It hurts to breathe. Are you dead? Mom loves pickles. Water is good for hydration. Why isn't anyone talking? By the time he was found, he was a muttering mess. He was trembling and confused. All he could see were the hallucinations from isolation and depletion of oxygen. Light bathed him as the top was open. Air rushed in. In response, he covered his eyes and breathed the first bit of fresh air in a while. He wrapped his arms around himself as he tried to see through the many hallucinations from his mind. He didn't know what to think. He didn't know what to do. Actually, he didn't exactly know how to react to this situation. He wasn't sure what was really happening. He just didn't know. Chapter 3. Name: Damien. Age: 10. Extension: unable to die. His mother is reported deceased. His father is involved with the mafia, using those strong extensions as weapons. He is currently our suspect. Extensions were the extraordinary abilities of people that come when they were born, but it tends to wear off in old age. There are 3 types: mental, control, and modify. Mental was the ability to only use extensions mentally. Control was the ability to affect objects or persons outwardly. Modify was the ability to change self or modify themselves. Damien's extension was the modify type. Why didn't they use him? That's odd for the mafia. It's unusual for them to not take advantage of someone with such a strong extension. The detective grimaced. Yeah, well, at least they didn't. Imagine how much he would have suffered. How much? It looks like he was already suffering. Who would do such a thing? He's just a kid. The other detective was sick to his stomach. I don't know. This is so messed up. This case was baffling to these detectives. No, this case was frightening to the whole bureau. They found a child who was buried alive and was still found alive 3 months later. That was something impossible, but possible for this child due to his accursive extension. Looks like he's awake. The 2 detectives walked inside the hospital room. 5 minutes later, they walked out of the room with barely any information from the poor boy. He only responded to them through nods, but his attention was all over the place. Maybe he was seeing hallucinations or something? They did not know. He was only able to answer so many questions. He was looking at nothing and pointing at random objects. It was like he wasn't used to being there. But who wouldn't when they were in a room where they'd never been to? He was gripping the covers and mumbling random things. The bureau tried to search for some relatives for him to stay with. They had no luck in the search. He was an orphan with a father missing in action and a mother presumed dead. What is going to become of this kid?